Oh, hello. My name is Mara and welcome to Books Like Whoa. So it is time already to do a ranking of the best and worst of arcs that I have read so far this year in 2020. This was something I started doing in 2019 and I just really enjoy it. I think you guys like it fine, but I really like it, so that's why I'm going to keep doing it. Basically, the idea is that each quarter I come and check in about all of the advanced readers copies that I have read and reviewed so far for that quarter. If you don't know, an arc or advanced readers copy is something that a publisher will provide in advance of the release date to reviewers. They will give them the book early so that they can review and tell people what they think about them. Hopefully that builds up hype, etc. So this is me checking in on here are the arcs that I have read so far for January, February, and March 2020 releases. I've read 14 of them so far, and actually I've really been enjoying all of them pretty much. My average rating is 3.67, which is very high for me. And I will tell you that looking at this list, I have all 14 of these in my recommended category, meaning that basically I'm saying if you think that this sounds like fun, if you think this sounds like something that you would enjoy, I would recommend it to you. So that is a fantastic way to start off the year. I also have a few books in here that I actually really loved and I'm really excited about. So with that being said, I'm going to start at the bottom, though it feels hard to say bottom because I do actually like all of these, but I'm going to start at the bottom, number 14, work my way up to number 1 of the best and worst of what I have read so far for 2020 book releases that I've gotten for review. And yeah, it's going to be a happy video because I can pretty much tell you I like all of these. Number 14 is Hearts on Hold by Charish Reid, which I gave 3 stars to, and I did really enjoy. This is a contemporary romance between basically 2 book nerds. So like, what's not to like? She is a professor of English at a local college. He is the head of the children's department for the library locally, and they are going to work together on a project and maybe they find love in the process. They definitely do. It's a really sweet, cute book. I very much enjoyed the dynamic between the 2 main characters in this one. It was just one that didn't necessarily beyond that, nothing in the book really was super memorable to me, but I had fun while reading it. I will tell you that now it's been a few weeks and I can't remember much about it, which is basically why I gave it 3 stars. It met my expectations. It was fun. If you read the back description and think it sounds good to you, I think you will enjoy it. I will also note that I've seen several really, really positive reviews from reviewers that I trust. So this also may just be where it hits you kind of a thing. The consensus seems to be that people are really enjoying this book, so I would definitely recommend it. It just wasn't super memorable to me, which is why I don't have it higher on the list. I'm sure as I read things that I enjoy less as the year goes on, it will start going up in the ranks. Number 13, I have The Honey Don't List by Christina Lauren, which I also gave 3 stars to. And I really enjoyed the writing in this one, and I enjoyed the interpersonal dynamics in the workplace. The thing that kept this from being better, because like I said, I think the writing and the character work in this one is really strong. It's just that it is meant to be a romance, and I think the romance piece of this is far and away the weakest part of it. So while I had a good time reading this, kind of on a page-to-page level, it just, I don't know. I think that the romance piece was a little unsatisfying, so it kept the book from being a 4-star, because that, to me, it's at a 4-star for characters and writing, but plot-wise, it's at a 2.5. So that's why I settled on a 3. Overall, if you like Christina Lauren, I think you should definitely, go ahead and pick this one up from the library or Kindle or whatever. But I don't personally think this is one of the great Christina Laurens. Number 12, I have a 3.5-star pick. So we're already in 3.5-star picks. Oh, guys, it's so hard for me to do best to worst on this because I'm I like all of these. Okay, number 12, I do have The Stars We Steal by Alexa Donne. I gave it 3.5 stars. I actually really did have fun reading this. That is the word I would use to describe this. If you are looking for kind of a sudsy YA sci-fi romp, go read this. This is super fun. It is a retelling of Persuasion. I think the fact that Persuasion was the source material from Jane Austen Chosen is what keeps this from being better, because I think that there are some miscommunication elements in this that I didn't buy, but I totally get why they're there in service to sticking with the Persuasion inspiration. So that's what kept this from fully blossoming for me. But I really had fun reading this. This was just a good beach read. I mean, it came out in January or February, so maybe not the beach, but you get what I mean. It's just a fun book. If you like romance in space, you'll probably get into this. 11, I've got Love Hard by Nalini Singh, which I also gave 3.5 stars to. Nalini Singh's writing is just a warm blanket of joy to me. I just love the way she writes her books. This is a contemporary romance, and it is set in a family that we have seen for several books now. My personal favorite of those books is unquestionably rock hard. And the couple that gets together in that one has their wedding at the beginning of this one. So it was basically like an extra prologue for the first 10% of this book, which I was not mad at. Basically, the reason why this one wasn't better for me is that I do think that there are some plot deficiencies here, but I just love these characters so much that I kind of don't care. It just feels so warm and cozy to spend sort of just like hangout time with your favorite characters in this world. I think pacing and plot wise, there are some things that if you are not already a lover of the series or lover of Nalini Singh, I don't know that this is where I would tell you to start, but I think if you go back to Rock Hard and read the stories for this family from there, I think you're gonna really enjoy this book, and I personally just found it very cozy. Number 10 is Upright Women Wanted by Sarah Gailey, and this is a, I guess I would call it a sci-fi dystopia filled with queer ladies in love who are called librarians and travel around ostensibly upholding parts of this dystopian government, but actually undermining it. I think, again, I really like the characters in this, and I really like the writing in this. I do think pacing wise, it was a little weird. So that's why I couldn't give it more than a 3.5 star. I don't know. It was a novella, so it shouldn't feel like it dragged, but I felt like it dragged in some places. So I think maybe this is a situation where it could have benefited from either being even shorter or longer. I don't know. I haven't really said that out loud yet, but I did enjoy this one. It does make me intrigued to try more from this author. And I just think that the premise is very high in this. So if you like the sound of that premise, I think you'll be into this. I definitely loved the world building piece of it, probably more out of anything. So if that's what you're coming to this book for, I think you will not be disappointed. Number 9 I have as Matzo Ball Surprise by Laura Brown. And this is a contemporary romance that is a holiday contemporary romance with a fake relationship. But instead of what we usually see, which is this kind of story being set over Christmas, this is set over Passover. And I've never read a book quite like this. The other thing I really like, so that piece of it is really well incorporated into the story, and I think brought some freshness to a very well-worn trope by having it be a different holiday. I just think that added a level of interest that I was excited to see. The other thing is that the hero in this one is deaf, and I think that piece of his life and the fact that the heroine doesn't speak ASL, doesn't know the language of ASL, it creates some interesting communication gaps between them and something that they have to work through. So all of that I just found to be really interesting. I do think, again, plotting seems to be like my main critique here of like, often I'm enjoying the writing, I'm enjoying the world, the characters, but there is something off in the plot. Again, I think that is the case here. The wrap up on this one just was off. Like it got wrapped up too quickly. I didn't really buy the wrap up, but other than that, I thought that this was a very interesting and engaging book. Number 8, another 3.5 stars, A Heart of Blood and Ashes by Milla Vane. Milla Vane is a pen name for Mel Jean Brooke, who is a writer that I absolutely love. So I'm so excited. She's been gone for a long time. I'm so excited to see her back in the mix. I really think that this is a great crossover book because this is a fantasy. It's a fantasy with very heavy romantic elements to it. But if you are somebody who is a romance reader trying to get into fantasy or a fantasy reader trying to get into romance, I think that this one really straddles the line between pretty well. Similarly to how I felt last year with The Wolf and the Whale, I think that this is one that really sits in between and could work for readers of either genre. For my taste, this was too long. I think that there should have been some stuff cut out. And I think that where the characters ended up, a lot of groveling was needed. And while I think it mostly happened, I don't know. It was a lot. Like we went on a journey with the two main leads and I'm mostly sold on it, but I don't know. I'm hoping that the next one will be a little less enemies to lovers because that is a trope that is sometimes a little hard for me to get into, and I think that was part of what was happening here. But I absolutely loved our main female character, Eve? I don't know. Yvenne, however you say that. I really, really loved her, and the world is super interesting. There was a lot of setup in this book for things that are going to continue to unfold in the series, so I'm excited to continue in the series. I would definitely recommend this. Then, number 7, we have Golden in Death by J.D. Robb. You guys know I am trash for the In Death series. I absolutely love it, and I actually got the opportunity to listen to this as an audio arc from Macmillan, which was great, and I had a really good time. This is 3.5 stars. It's number 7 on the list. This is actually the opposite situation of what we've been talking about previously, which is I actually quite like the plot in this one. It didn't have enough of the special character moments between, you know, Eve and Rourke or Eve and Peabody or whoever. Like, that's really what makes these books shine for me. And there just wasn't enough of that, especially considering this was the 50th book in the series. I was hoping we were going to get like some big development or milestone, and that wasn't quite what happened. But I still think this was a completely enjoyable in-depth book. I always enjoy the mystery elements of this. Like, that's basically how I read these, is as very character-driven mysteries set in a sci-fi world. Yeah, just super good. I'm excited for the 51st one, which is coming out in September. Number 6, I've got Death and the Family by Tessa Wegert. And I'm gonna tell you, if this didn't have the trope that I just love in it, and if it didn't do the things with that trope that I really appreciate, objectively in terms of the quality of this book, I would put it closer to a 3-star, because I do think the writing is a little uneven, and I think some of the character motivations aren't totally there for me. But this is an isolated closed circle mystery. Everybody's trapped on an island in the middle of a storm. 2 police inspectors manage to get out to the island to investigate a missing person, but there's a shit ton of blood, so like, who are we kidding? A murder. They get out to the island to investigate, and then basically they are cut off from there. Shenanigans unfold, secrets are revealed, all of that. I just had a really good time reading this. I was on vacation when I was reading it. It worked perfectly as like a poolside read. It just was a ton of fun. That's why I have it so high on this list, and that's why I gave it 4 stars, because I did just really enjoy it. Number 5 is Problem Child by Victoria Helen Stone. Genre-wise, this is a weird one. I guess it technically would fall into a thriller kind of thing. I read these as more just sort of like general fiction with a heavy thriller element. And this is a sequel to Jane Doe by Victoria Helen Stone, which is one of my all-time favorite books. I did not like this book as much as Jane Doe. Obviously, I gave it 4 stars and it's number 5 on this list, but I do think it's still a really strong book. I think we get a lot of the things that we loved from the first book in terms of Jane's sociopathy. I think for me, I didn't care as much about her backstory, which is what a lot of this book is about. I would have rather spent more time with her destroying this guy in her office, which she is doing as sort of a side plot. I loved that. I wish that had been the main plot. Basically, if that had been the main plot and the whole thing with her past had been the side plot, I think I would have liked this book even better. But even still, I love this character. I love spending time with her. 4 stars. It's good. Okay, and then number 4, I've got Headliners by Lucy Parker. I also gave this 4 stars, and you guys know, if you are a watcher of this channel, that Lucy Parker is one of my favorite contemporary romance authors. I really enjoy her work. I love the way she builds her characters. They feel like really lived-in people, and I find her dialogue really well executed. There's always like a scene or two in these books that I find very genuinely romantic and kind of swoony. This one was a little bit of a hard sell for me, because in the previous book to this, which is the Austen Playbook, we have the couple that we see in this book. They have a conflict that is profound, and she does not like him, and she shouldn't, because what he did was terrible. So there's a little bit of an obstacle for me there in terms of like, I don't know that I 100% bought the journey of going from hate to love. By the end, of course, I really enjoyed them together. I was rooting for them. It was a very enjoyable book. That's the only thing that kept it from being even better to me, is just that I didn't fully buy the transition there. But I think that the writing was excellent. It had so much trope bait for people in terms of like cuddle for warmth, enemies to lovers, workplace romance. It has some like rom-com-y elements to it. All the things. It had a lot going on, and I did really enjoy my time with it. And then number 3, I have Come Tumbling Down by Seanan McGuire. So I read this as an ARC, and then I picked up a physical copy. I just love Jack so much. So if you have not been keeping up with the Wayward Children's series, I would say that this is probably not a place you can start with the series. Go ahead and just go back and read Every Heart a Doorway and go from there. This book clarified for me though that this series works for me best when it's characters that I'm super invested in. And for me, the number 1 character I'm invested in is Jack and her happiness with her lady love. I just love her. So anytime I'm spending time with Jack, and anytime I'm in her portal world, because these are portal fantasies, and the premise of this is that there is a boarding school in our world for children who have been into other fantasy worlds and come back. Like basically it's a take on a portal fantasy. So think like what a boarding school filled with kids like the kids in Narnia who went someplace, had an adventure, and came back. In each of these books, you're often exploring covering both the portal world, so you're getting to go to a different world, but then you're also spending time with these core characters who we've come to know and love. And for me, like I was saying, the one that I know and love the best is Jack. I also really love Cade. I love Christopher, and it's her name, Cora. So like this had all of the characters I liked best in it, and that is why I ended up enjoying it so much. I think this has clarified for me that I'm probably going to be a little pickier about which of these I pick up going forward and really do it based on which characters are involved. But this particular one worked super well for me. Definitely would recommend. Number 2, I have what is basically meant to be a memoir / personal essay collection, but I encountered or experienced this as a theology of gender. So Daniel Mallory Ortberg, who now is going by Danny M. Lavery due to some issues with his family of origin, and he's since gotten married, so he has taken his wife's last name. This is basically an exploration of his transition. He's a trans man, and that's what I thought I was getting. You do get that, but you also get the full scope of his experience as somebody who comes from a fundamentalist or evangelical tradition, and that language being so baked into the way that he perceives the world, the way he perceives himself, and how he kind of uses that language then to explore ideas of gender and explore, like I said, a theology or a philosophy of gender. And he does it really playfully. He also was the runner of the Toast back in the day. So there's a lot of plays with classic literature and biblical stories. I think particularly his sort of recurring kind of coming back to the story of the wrestling of Jacob and the angel, and Jacob being renamed as Israel from that, I think was really moving. Just a super well done memoir that I would highly recommend. I think the thing that kept this from being just something I absolutely loved was that I think that there was a few things that probably could have been edited out to make this like leaner and meaner, but overall very much recommend, very much enjoyed. And then my top pick for Q1 arcs that I read, and also just so far my top pick for 2020 releases, unless something knocks that off here in Q2, is Undercover Bromance by Lyssa Kay Adams. And this is a book, I gave this 4.5 stars. This is a book that is not going to work for everyone, but just so worked for me. I was so in the tank for this because this is a completely meta commentary on the romance genre, and it is a meta exploration of the romantic suspense subgenre in particular. I love how overtly feminist this is. I love how overtly like talking about power dynamics this has in it. It wasn't a grammatical sentence, but whatever. This book just works for me. Now, the thing that people have been critiquing in the reviews I've seen is that the heroine is unlikable. I don't care. I don't like that critique. I often find it to be coded language. What I loved is that she and the hero are going on the same journey, which is both of them are learning how to be allies to women who have been victims of sexual predators. And that is the entire like setup, is that she finds out that this chef that she's been working for, she is a chef, the head chef, has been victimizing women in this workplace for years. And it seems like there is a pattern of this, and she happens to walk in on him doing it to someone. She gets fired. She tries to help the woman stand up for herself, and she's not ready to do that. She is learning to listen to these women instead of just doing what she thinks is right. And I think some people will find that journey she goes on to be unrelatable or make her unlikable. And I just don't care. Like, I'm not here for it. I thought that was wonderful. And I also love that the hero's conflict is he is learning how to be a true ally to women, but also how to actually listen to his partner and what she needs and wants from him instead of what he thinks she wants based on all these romance novels he's been reading. So I love all the character work in this. I love this thematically. The plot worked for me. All in all, I just really love this, and I can't wait. There's a second one coming out in the spring, which is a friends to lovers trope, and I just can't wait for that one. So Undercover Bromance is definitely my top pick for Q1 arcs. Happily, joyfully putting that one at the top. So there you go. First of probably 3 videos I'll do like this year, maybe 4, where I check in. Because part of why I do this is that if I'm getting copies for review, yes, I always post on Goodreads about them. They often come into my wrap-ups or my mid-month check-ins, but I do want to purposely be telling you guys, like, here's what I think of the books that publishers have given me to review for you. So that's part of why I like to do this, in terms of just like my own sense of integrity as a reviewer, but also I just enjoy it. It's a fun process for me throughout the year, watching things rise and fall on the list. And yeah, it's fun for me to do. So I hope you have found this helpful and found it enjoyable. So definitely let me know what your favorite 2020 release so far has been this year. Leave that in the comments down below. And yeah, I think that will do it for now. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, and I think that will do it. I hope you guys are having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye.